players returning this year, including MVP Brandon Allen. Give us a little bit more on what you think they're going to be and how they're going to be difficult for FC Cincinnati this season.
Well, I mean, aside from the fact that they couldn't draw a crowd in, topping it something like 600 people per game, they basically use this as a chance to get their players in the MLS team a lot of playing time. So New York Red Bulls was a stacked MLS team. They used that roster to push down really quality players into the USL, and those players gave us a hard time. I mean, they were sorry, crowd's going nuts. The Red Bulls, though, I mean, they just defeated everybody last year. They were the top goal scorer. They were also one of the best defenders in the league. I don't see that changing. I mean, they've lost a couple players. One of them I know went to Louisville, but beyond that, a lot of the same people back. Expect a quality team every time. The thing is, we just had to get better, and I think we've got better.
Well, we have a brand new club in USL this season. Some people might have heard the Tampa Bay Rowdies. The Tampa Bay Rowdies. First off, how many of you guys know much about the Premier League? Premier League? Bundesliga? All right, we got some soccer fans out here. So, Joseph, give us a little bit of a breakdown on the Tampa Bay Rowdies this year. They have some pretty big players out there. If you're not used to USL soccer, give them a breakdown of Tampa Bay and who they might be able to offer this year.
Well, first and foremost, the one we want to look out for is Joe Cole. I think we have in him probably the best known name in USL. Sans maybe a possible Drogba signing down the line, but that's for a future conversation. Tampa Bay has definitely been shelling out some money in their recent move to USL. And Joe Cole has made his name known on the world stage, both at Chelsea and participating for England in the World Cup. So I think he's at the tail end of his career, but as far as his physical prowess and his talents currently, he has the setup to be outstanding in the USL. And in fact, though New York gave us the most problems last year, and pretty much no one can argue with that, I'm most worried about the Rowdies this year and facing them, and I'm glad we get to take a shot at them early, and we'll see how that really shakes out for the team, because I think that's going to be a great measuring stick for the start of the season and down the line.
We have any Liverpool or Man City fans out here? They're both garbage anyway, but I know my buddy Dave who's in charge of our sound tonight. He's a big Liverpool fan. Phoenix Rising, Bill. They feature a former England World Cup international, Man City, Liverpool player, Sean Wright Phillips. There's also a couple more additions that they might have this year that could give us a pretty good contest if we do make the Cup final this year.
Yeah, I think the big rumor is Drogba right now. Whether or not that comes through, we'll find out, but it's certainly seeming more and more likely. It's amazing to me right now that the USL is actually drawing some of these players in. They used to talk about the MLS as being a retirement league where great players from Europe came back to the U.S. and would finish out, or not back, they would come to the U.S. and finish out their careers in the MLS. And now we're seeing that at the USL level. We're getting a lot more younger, up and rising players in the MLS, and the retirement league is probably the USL. So, great players like Sean Wright Phillips, Drogba, certainly, these players are coming in and bringing expertise and bringing the level of play up in the USL. So, I mean, this isn't going to be, young players with lots of speed and energy, but they're going to be smart players that are going to be hard for us to compete against.
And of course, I was debating about giving these guys time tonight because I hate them so much. But Louisville City FC. Oh, Louisville. Oh, it's a family environment. We got to do that, right? Family environment. Good point. There you go. No, Louisville City FC. They actually took I don't want to say took because I don't know if he could hack it at FC Cincinnati anymore. He's a great guy, but Luke Spencer. Luke Spencer ended up down at Louisville City FC this year. And does anybody have a score update for me on that game? We'll figure it out for you. But he was supposed to be a pretty big addition for Louisville City. So where do you see Louisville in terms of the USL Eastern Conference this year, Bill?
Oh, to me. they don't like hearing it from us, and they've certainly gotten on our case about it. But I think they're going to drop pretty significantly this year. Where they were second last year in the East, they're probably mid-table. They lost their captain, Aiden Quinn, to us. They lost their speedy wing player, Kadeem Dakers, to us. They even lost their number one goal scorer, not to us, but they lost him, and Chandler Hoffman. And, I don't know where the goals are going to come from. I mean, Luke Spencer is a good player. I'm not, saying anything negative about Luke, but I'm not sure that he is the guy who can score enough goals for that team to make them a number 2 team anymore. So, he might score a few, but I think they're going to really struggle to find goals this year. Somebody has to put it in the net. So.
Now, Yosef, we're going to have some opportunities to go down to some games this year. Next week, we are at, I want to say, the most hated city to Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. There we go. No, we're taking a bus trip to Pittsburgh this weekend, or next weekend. Give everybody out here a little bit of an idea what we're doing and how they can join us if they drive up.
Certainly, we'll be taking a bus to Pittsburgh to see what will be most certainly a definite victory against the Riverhounds this year. Riverhounds are a Columbus Crew affiliate, so we have a good idea of what we'll see there, but there may be some younger players who drop off of the Crew roster to get some time with Pittsburgh. Last year, they were an underperforming team, especially due to their roster being kind of fluctuated. But they have some quality players there. They lost their goalkeeper didn't lose him. He got promoted to starting in Columbus, and Zach Steffen. But they'll have probably Christian Martinez there, as well as a couple others who will return from last year. They didn't have much offensive strength when we played them last year, but they did manage to give us a tough fight. And I'm a little bit worried about going to play them at their home, but Pittsburgh, as much as I hate to give the city any credit, they have a lovely stadium. It's right on the river, and I'm hoping for nice weather as well, so we can really enjoy the full experience of tailgating and being with their fans, because they seem to be pretty accommodating for us.
So what you're telling me is if our listeners out there have the poor judgment in following Columbus Crew, they might want to watch Pittsburgh this year.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what Pittsburgh is there for. They're not like FC Cincinnati in that they're just an independent team. They're there for growing players and keeping players fresh who are not getting playing time at Columbus. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. And if you can make the trip out there, let us know, or let us, there are supporters groups as well who are going down, so you can sit in the section with a bunch of FCC fans, and that way you'll be amongst common company and in a safe environment and not fraternizing with any Pittsburgh fans unnecessarily.
All right, but before I give you the guys the opportunity to pick your top 3 for the USL Eastern Conference this year, I want anybody out there who has a bucket of beers or wants to keep their beer cold, a bottle of beer. We have some koozies up here with Cincinnati Soccer Talk, so please come up here if you want a koozie. Keep your beer cold. I say warm, beer cold. Definitely let us know. We love getting our name out there, and they're free. Don't cost you anything. So all right, so I'm going to put Yosef on the spot here real quick. Yosef, pick your top 3 on the USL Eastern Conference this year.
Do I have to pick them in order, or can I just pick a general top 3?
Whatever you want, but I know if you had hair on your chest, you'd pick the top 3 in order.
My top 3 in order, ding. I know what my general top 3 is. It's definitely Rowdies, Red Bulls, FCC. But how they finish is a great question, because I think, honestly, that the talent that is encompassed on the Rowdies and FCC is better than what's at New York this year. But New York has had a lot of experience and a lot of returning players. And, they have the comfort of not being new to the league like the Rowdies are. And FCC really is, relatively speaking. Oh, man, that's tough. I think I did pick them out. To keep continuity, I would go Rowdies first, FCC second, and New York third. I don't remember where I put them in my first overall power ranking standings. But that's the general idea. And I have a little trepidation that FCC might have a little bit of a slow start. But I think the pieces are there for a successful season, because at the end of the day, if you have a great season and then play in the playoffs like we did, it doesn't matter. You want to be going into the season hot, and I think with new additions that are kind of mixing together, they'll get hot at the right time this year.
Awesome. Bill, give us your top three.
Not to be boring, but it's exactly the same as Joseph. So I'd put Tampa first, FCC second, and then New York third. And kind of, following behind what Joseph said, again, it's not about how you finish the season as far as rankings, but it's how you finish the season as far as whether you're hot or not. I think one thing that I really like about FCC this year is the depth on the roster, the fact that we have a lot more players who could be starters at a lot of clubs that will be subs this year. And I think that's going to benefit us long term because they're actually going to be able to not be fatigued and worn out as the season comes to the end. So I think we're going to do well there. I think New York is going to be tough. Just as I said, they're going to continue to have that Red Bull roster coming down and helping them. But this club is very committed to a strong finish and a strong team going into the playoffs. Tampa just scares me. They're just spending money like they have unlimited funding right now on players. So I think they're gonna do well.
Awesome. Again, guys, if you have a beer, you want to keep it cold, we have some free koozies up here, so come and get them. My top three is going to be a little different, just like my hair. I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go FC Cincinnati, first place. I'm going to go St. Louis FC in second place. You got a former U.S. men's national team player as their head coach. We know how well that worked. But and then we're going to go with what? We're going to go with Tampa as third. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. So
now, you were last in the Growler Cup last year,
I was
right?
last in the Growler Cup. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We have about 15 more minutes here of the show, guys, before we get at Bucketheads here. We're going to be hosting the Xavier University Musketeers, and followed by FC Cincinnati match after that. So if you are out here in the audience and you're also considering some food options, the special is the Portobello Mushroom Burger with fries. So if you want to do that, I know my man Bill would love that.
Sounds great.
Sounds good to you. So definitely check it out tonight, guys.
That's a very, very bold statement to pick St. Louis so high, considering they just got outshot by Louisville 21-4. Are you feeling okay? I mean, I know I got here late, but how many beers did you have while setting up, Brian?
I had a couple Modelo's as a special tonight. I had a couple. No, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you gotta keep that involved. So guys, definitely check out tonight at Bucketheads. We have the Modelo special, $275 Modelo draft. Good stuff. All right, let's go into tonight's game. We got 15 more minutes before our show wraps up here. Again, if you guys have any questions out in the crowd, please come up. I know we have quite a bit of people on Facebook tonight checking us out, YouTube. So let us know if you have any questions. So, Joseph Sagai, Charleston Battery, they played 11 games in the preseason. They were 7-2-2, 7 wins, 2 losses, and 2 draws. But the 7 wins are only versus college opponents. So do we need to measure that, or what do you think how they're going to face up tonight?
With preseason, I think it's more about what you see on the field rather than the final result. I mean, certainly they're showing signs of progress, and I know they're a solid team. They've returned enough players. I know they had some turnover, but they've returned enough of their core players that I really feel like their status will carry over into this season. Not to repeat myself, but I think they're a great measuring stick for FCC as far as the new signings and the type of defenses that gave us trouble last year. It'll be good to see how Daryl Fordyce and Jimmy Fall kind of react to a tighten and pack down defense, because the strength, and I know they're missing one of their strongest center backs, but their strength is in their defense and their hold-up play. So my fear is that we get behind early. If we can get out in front of this game, or at least create some shots on target to start things out and put the pressure on them, I think that'll lead well. Because if you got to play from behind against these guys, you're going to have a bad time.
Well, kind of what you said there is, FC Cincinnati did play Charleston 3 times last year. They were not able to beat them any of those 3 times. It was a loss in the dying seconds. It was a draw at home. And then, of course, in front of 30,000 fans down in Nippert Stadium, we had a great rocket launch there by Eric Stevenson. And then what you just said, we got down 2-1, and we couldn't create anything because they had a strong defense. So, Bill Wolf, tell us a little bit more about the key players for Charleston for tonight's game.
Well, I mean, I think one of the key players is Williams right off the bat. I mean, if you look at that opening match last year, It was a tough match with rain delays, terrible field, home field advantage for Charleston. They're just an absolute fortress to play in, but Williams was the spoiler. I mean, we came down to the 92nd or 94th minute, something crazy like that, and Williams, hammered in that ball and gave us our first loss of the season, the first loss ever, actually. He's a player that we have a strong dislike of, I would say. They've made a big deal about him coming back this season, so he is coming back. He's been working really hard. He's slimmed down. It sounds like he's going to be an even pacier, more physical player than he was last season. And that could cause us some problems, as we know that, especially early in the season, we struggle with holding the back line solid, especially in the dying end of games. So hopefully we don't see any kind of recurrence with giving up late goals like we did before, and he's going to be one looking to do that.
Now, Josef, can you inform our listeners out here in the audience as well as on Facebook the change that FC Cincinnati is going to have in the late portions of the game with the difference in change of subs rule for the 2017 season?
Yeah, I think that change in subs rule. Well, to break it down first and foremost for those who weren't aware, is that last year USL teams were allotted 5 subs for each match, and this year it's been changed in conjunction with most of other soccer leagues' regulations and turning that to 3 subs. At the end of the day, I think this is going to be a benefit for FCC, even despite the fact that I think the roster is deeper than most other teams. It'll allow for them to really pick their spots, as well as other teams who have kind of a general, need to bring in more players to either spell or change up their lineup, won't have that opportunity. You have to be more careful with your subs, so you can't really bring on a couple of players late in games that you can use just for single uses, like we want a burner on the field to stretch the defense. FCC will have their subs in place, and I think that will allow them to get the most quality players on the pitch, and when also tailor it to the situation. Meaning more so, like if we're in an attacking stage where we need to get some goals or need some speed, bring on Dakers. Or if you need to bring on another holding midfielder, we have guys who will be there. Hopefully, maybe Paul Nicholson if he's not ending up starting in Austin Berry's spot on center back, but that kind of thing. And, at the end of the day, we want our players. I think our starting 11 and 3 subs can beat almost any team's starting 11 and 3 subs. But when you stretch the field and have tired legs, or stretch the subs out and have tired legs going against one another, fresh legs, adding an extra 5 players, I think kind of impacts FCC negatively when opponents going to have the liberty to do that. I think the sub rule is going to work in our favor this year.
Now, one of the strengths, Bill, for Charleston Battery is the counter, and how that's going to need to be one of the things FC Cincinnati stops for this match. Give a little bit of detail of that strength for Charleston.
Charleston's known for being a team that will hunker down and play a large number of players back and have a player like Williams who will counter and make the runs, balls over the top, trying to find space and having somebody quick to run in and grab it. That definitely has caused us problems as FCC last year, especially like to have a very high back line. We'd like to push our wing backs up, get them into the attack, and that would leave us very exposed to these counterattacks. I think that this year we're in a little bit different situation. For one thing, some of the big players they had in the back that really hunkered back and defended the goal, they were large, they were physical. We didn't have really big players. We had a goalie, and he was our only guy, and he got beat up repeatedly all last year. But now with GB up there, with Mansoray up there, even Fordyce up there, we have some larger players who can get bumped around a little bit. I think the back lines aren't going to be able to just knock us over like they did before. I also wanted to make a point. Joseph talked about stretching the field, right? And 2 of our games last year against Charleston were at home. We took a loss and we did a tie, right? In both cases, we were playing on a small field. Nippert was under typical regulation size fields. It was barely the minimum. And this year, with the changes to Nippert Stadium, we've extended the field 5 yards. We've extended the width of the field 5 yards. It doesn't sound like a lot of space, but it really makes a huge difference. We're going to be able to spread out the players a lot more. We're going to be able to go wider, and that's going to cause a team like Charleston that likes to hunker down to have problems. Now, that doesn't help us away, but just from a standpoint of Charleston as a problem team, they may not have been as much of a problem in a different settings with a wider field like we've seen. So maybe we just have a mental attitude about them because we lost 3 times, or 2 times.
Yeah. Well, before we get to breaking down this match a little bit further, I want to say a little thank you to one of our friends of the show, Dave Matthews, and his company, Revent Productions, for helping supply our equipment tonight. So we appreciate your time, and we hope to do this a lot more. If you ever want to get involved with Cincinnati Soccer Talk and get us to get our own equipment, definitely go on to cincinnati.soccer.com/support and help us get to some more goals with the show. So I think this is going to be pretty special here. We have a comment all the way from Bournemouth, England. We have Kevin Angel listening live in Bournemouth, England. It's great to have the boys back tonight. Who are a few key players to watch out for this season? So Kevin Angel, Bournemouth, England. Joseph, give them a key player for tonight's match.
The 2 players I'm most excited to watch, I'll start with Aiden Quinn. I think he brings not only, just as a person and personality, a great leadership quality, but man, and I'm not just saying that our set pieces were inadequate last year as far as delivery, but Aiden Quinn can definitely get that job done, and he's going to have some big bodies to take care of that. So when he puts the ball in and gives great service, there will be heads and bodies to receive those balls going into the box. So I'm very excited to see him starting and taking corners and also holding up the midfield. And more importantly, and kind of more to the forefront, I'm very excited. I'm a well-known fan of Daryl Fordyce. I think he's a magician as far as distributing the ball and definitely can finish. And him in conjunction with Jibby Fall will be an awesome match. I think, like I said last week, I think for my money, Daryl Fordyce will be the MVP this year. And I think he's going to be probably the most exciting player to watch on the team, at least in my humble opinion.
Bill?
So just to be different than Joseph, I'll pick out a different player. And I'm going to say Victor Mansoret. So he's young. He turned 21 this summer. So he's got a lot of time to go as far as playing. But even with that young age, he brings with him an intensity that I don't see in a lot of the other players. So I went down to IMG down in Florida and spent some time with the team down there. And as people would come onto the field, Victor was the guy who just had so much focus. You could see it in his eyes. He was like a shark looking at his prey. And honestly, I wouldn't want to be between him and a net. I think what I've seen for him is not a lot yet, productivity-wise, in the preseason. He certainly is battling for time with GB Fall, but they've started to put him out on the wings. He actually has really nice service and vision. His technical skills are very strong, and I expect that as the season goes on and he fits in tighter and tighter with his team, we're going to see him as an up-and-coming player with a lot of potential.
All right, we have about 5 more minutes of our show left live on Facebook, YouTube, and here at Bucketheads. We have another special guest here. Give us your name, buddy.
Ethan.
All right, Ethan, real quick here. I'm going to put you on the spot. What player are you most excited for 2017?
Harrison Delbridge.
Woo! Sounds like a pretty popular... Why are you so excited for Harrison Delbridge, who was, I would say, one of the defenders of the year in USL last year?
I'm excited about his standing up to people.
Yeah, big body, standing up. It's a kid that knows a little bit about soccer here, so good job, my man. Show everybody your scarf you got in front of you. There we go. We got a little cry having for the Bailey Bastards. So I think, do we have any of those to sell tonight? So yeah, if you want some Bailey Bastard soccer scarves, get them here at the center table. All right, so we have about 5 more minutes left in tonight's show before we turn it over to the Xavier Musketeers. Joseph, so let's give a couple topics on how FC Cincinnati can win for tonight's game. I think Bill brought up Fordyce. Give us a little bit about what he brings this year compared to what Wiedemann or Corbin Bone brought to last year's squad.
Well, I think Wiedemann and Corbin Bone definitely had good performances last year, but as far as distribution, I don't think we're going to do much better than Daryl Fordyce in USL. he's going to be a creator for this team, and I think we have the players around him who really can execute and use that service. Now, it's going to take some, absolutely take some teamwork for this to be accomplished, but I think Darryl Fordyce can definitely have the impact as far as creating, maybe even not the direct assist, but kind of like the hockey assist, as the term is known, the pass before the pass, or getting players in the right place, or even just being in the right spot to take up a defender and create some space for Jimmy Fall and others. But I think he's going to be the main cog, not only today, but in this season.
Now, Bill, you had another topic on what FC Cincinnati could do tonight and for the whole season on a huge change to the club.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when we talk about winning games and we talk about, beating our opponents, we're talking about players on the pitch over and over again. Who can score the goals? Who can defend? And I think FC Cincinnati has a secret weapon off the pitch that most people underestimate, and that's our new coach, Coach Koch. So having met him, having talked to him several times, he is got an intense soccer IQ. He definitely knows the game. And what I've seen, having gone down to IMG, watched some training, met him in person, even talked to the front office a bit, is that he is a teacher of the game. And I see that in the players, and I hear that from the players. I think going into this year, we had a great team last year, and they did really well. But this year, they know what's expected. They understand more how the different pieces fit together and how they as a team can make a difference. And I think we're going to see a difference there. The other thing is I kind of get the impression that he's a true tactician. So where I felt like sometimes last year, as games went on and we ended up losing or tying late, I felt like sometimes we got out-coached a little bit. I felt that, we weren't making the right moves, we weren't making the right changes, and I think Coach Koch is a little bit more of a studier of the game who's going to make those right decisions and bring in the right players at the right times.
You guys have any other topics that we can talk about to wrap it up before we get into our predictions?
Nothing besides I'm looking forward to take a resounding lead in the Growler Cup competition that I will not relinquish. But besides that, go FCC and let's pull out a W.
All right, so before we get into wrapping up here and here, Bill, you can hold that up, model it for everybody. We don't have a ton of these tonight, but we will take pre-orders. So FC Cincinnati will be hosting Louisville, and I think it's the third home game on April 22nd. It's going to be called a Blackout. So Cincinnati Soccer Talk has made a special T-shirt, kind of off a nickname that the Louisville fans gave. Does anybody have a T-shirt? Stand up here. Turn, show everybody your shirt. So Louisville fans call that the Knifey Soccer Lion King. So we want to own that nickname. So we made Knifey Soccer Lion King T-shirts. So if you're interested in that, we'll take pre-orders tonight, and we can get those out to you. So, all right, we have about 2 minutes before we have to wrap it up and turn it over to the Xavier Musketeers. We have a segment that we end every show on called our Growler Cup. Basically, it is a predictions for how the game's going to go, and then we accrue points throughout the entire year, and the loser has to buy the winner a growler. The loser was me, so the losing trophy is now called the Brian, which is unfortunate. So, yeah, love these guys for doing that to me. So, I'm going to kick it off with Yosef here. Give us your Growler Cup prediction for tonight's match.
I'm going with a resounding 2-1 victory to FCC. I just can't pick. I couldn't bring myself to pick a draw or a loss on the first game of the season. You got to be optimistic, and I definitely think that beating Charleston is within their range this year. All right, for this match.
Yosef 2-1 to FCC. Bill Wolf.
Keep making me follow Yosef, and I keep saying the same thing as him. So also 2-1, but that's okay. I think again, we're not going to get out coached this time. We're not going to give up a late goal. Instead, we're going to get a late goal as we bring in some of these high-level subs that we have now on the roster. So I see, a cat and mouse game in the first half, maybe one goal, and then we're going to at least score a second one in the second half and take home a victory from Charleston.
Well, I should have not gone last because I'm going to feel like a Debbie Downer now.
You are Debbie Downer.
I am a Debbie Downer. I'm picking a 2-2 draw tonight, sadly. I still think a 1 point down in Charleston would be a great start for the Coach Koch era. So I'm pretty excited for that. But I think any points that we can get on the road is going to be welcome for this season. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for allowing us to be here tonight. We appreciate you guys listening, and if you have any comments, let us know. Please follow us on Cincy Soccer Talk. That's Cincy Soccer Talk on Twitter or Cincinnati Soccer Talk on Facebook. Also, we still have several koozies up here. We're going to be selling the pre-orders of the T-shirts. I guess without further ado, guys, thank you very much to Bucketheads for having us out. Make sure to buy your Modelos, get your cards punched after every goal, and we'll see you guys back out here next weekend.
Go X!